Okay people, so the Black Clover fandom kinda spazzing out a little bit after chapter 309 of the manga. People are going a little bit of cray-cray. Now 308, it was introduced, the whole element of Yuno having two Grimoire. Now a lot of people already were kind of suspect on it, questioning it, we're saying what the heck is going on, how does Yuno have another power-up, where does this lead him, what is this power going to be, how the heck he has a second Grimoire to begin with, what was this Grimoire he had all along. It was seemingly hinted that basically that Grimoire belonged to the spirit of Lit's son that was reincarnated within Yuno's body. However, this chapter 309 blew open even further the extraordinarily insane capabilities that Yuno have, and some people are kind of calling BS on it. I'm gonna break it down, we're gonna get into it. The big battle continues of Yuno versus Zenon, and Yuno's say it with me people, star magic. It continues to elevate in Black Clover. Let's talk about it, baby.
No matter how you move, get it done. No matter how you move, get it done. No matter how you move, get it done. No matter how you move, get it done.
So yes, people, Yuno has been blessed yet again. Just as it was said many chapters ago, and many people memed that Yuno was beloved by Mana, and in fact probably wasn't even Yuno now that I think about it. It might have actually been Lit's son that was beloved by Mana, but that's a whole different story. But in this one, it's so freaking crazy what's going on with Yuno right now that even Zenon is in shock. This person that just sold his soul to a devil in order to obtain a devil's heart is now even surprised himself at what the heck just went down in Black Clover. Because he's staring at Yuno and he's like, what in the blue blazing mo food? Tabata really loves to give Yuno an extra buff or two every time Asta gets a buff or two. It's basically the whole rivalry situation of, hey, when he gets one, he gets one. And at the very least, you gotta commend the epic nature of what Yuno already starts off doing, because we're shortly into it and already Yuno blasted off half of Zenon's face, and I was just there like, oh, okay, we're doing this right now. That just shows alone the capabilities, the extraordinary capabilities at that if this wasn't an abnormal creature, if this wasn't something that was basically, you know, somebody sold their soul to a devil and essentially one of the strongest beings in the Black Clover universe being there, this fight would have already been donezo, because he was walking around there, Zenon looking like Whitebeard during the Whitebeard War where he got half his face blown off. Like, that's the type of vibe that was going down right now in this chapter. And following him getting almost damn near beheaded, we see a star-shaped thing. I ain't gonna lie, kind of looked like Starmie or Staryu from Pokemon. I was like, okay, where's this going, fam? Is this already a big hint at what the hell's to come? And I love how it actually gave a little bit of backstory into it, because Tabata could have really cheaped out on this. He could have just said, you know what, it is what it is, this is the magic. But it actually gave a little bit of backstory, because remember, just last chapter, when we actually got the introduction of the second Grimoire, they decided to, okay, we're gonna break down exactly more or less what happened, how he has this first Grimoire for the wind magic, the four-leaf clover Grimoire. Okay, that's actually Lit's son, and he was beloved by Mana. So if we're gonna get the explanation of that, then it was also great and fitting that Tabata gave us the explanation on, okay, so what the heck is up with this Grimoire? Where did this come from? How did he get this type of magic? And it said that the Spade Kingdom's royal family has unique magic that's been passed down for generations. So essentially they are some inbred stuff. Yuno's family were inbred. That's freaking nuts to think about, but essentially, yeah, inbred magic. Oh my god, imagine I put that as a title. Yo, Yuno with that inbred magic, let's go. Because his father had sun magic and his mother had moon magic, which ultimately makes you think, well, okay, if we're talking about what's up in the sky, the sun and moon, what's left there? Kind of cool, nothing, you know, that would really be like mind-blowing to think about. If he's the sun, she's the moon, then obviously the sun is going to be, or their child is going to be, Yuno Grimbarial has star magic, which is kind of interesting that it's a radical departure from, okay, this is just wind that he's been rocking with this entire time. That realistically, if it wasn't for the spirit of Lit's child, Yuno would have been in scrub all of Black Clover. That's kind of crazy to think about that. Honestly, realistically, you gotta question now, like, wow, so Yuno basically has been riding off of somebody else's power this entire time. Can you even say that a lot of the W's he caught are his W's? But then again, you gotta compare it to, okay, well, what's a great comparison? I don't know, something that I use all the time as reference, Naruto! That's basically like saying that none of Naruto's W's throughout the entire series mean anything, considering that he had Kurama's power kind of as a battery pack throughout all of Naruto and Naruto Shippuden. Like, that would basically be the same argument. So you can't really say that, considering the fact that he was wielding the magic. It wasn't that, like, he robbed somebody for the magic. You know what I'm saying? It was basically a reincarnated soul in his body, and he utilized what he had. So again, if Yuno knew that it wasn't his magic, he might not have even have used it. He might have just went straight up like Asta on some next level stuff. So I don't want to completely strip away or look at Yuno in a different light, because again, he was working with what he was given. And we get a pretty cool panel. I wish it would have looked a little bit more detailed, to be honest with you, but there was a cool panel of Yuno, and there's stars surrounding him, and he's floating in the sky, and Tabata is really elevating, fam. We went from them just barely getting these books back in the day to now he's floating and he has star magic. Like, talk about expanding the universe and expanding the power scaling immensely. And it's even further cemented just how much of a radical change this is going to be for Yuno when Belle actually says that he's a son of royals, and that she feels like she finally met the real Yuno in terms of power, which kind of makes me wonder, like, so Belle, you didn't realize this entire time that it really wasn't his power, that he was leeching off of this dead soul of Lit's son, or the reincarnated soul of Lit's son? So on a side note, similar to what happened with Patry and William Vengeance's body, since the very beginning of Black Clover, Yuno has had that spirit of that baby in his body, because how else will he have been using this wind magic unless he had that baby's soul in his body with that grimoire? Now, if you was to rewatch Black Clover, it's kind of crazy to think about. Like, this changes the entirety of Black Clover from the very beginning. When you look at that and you see that book drop, you got to think to yourself, that's not even your book. Like, that's not your book, you a scrub. Which also kind of adds into the rivalry of Asta and Yuno, that, yeah, they were both magicless scrubs if you really think about it. It's just that Yuno got lucky and this spirit went in him. Like, if Asta was lucky enough to have a spirit go in him, he might have had magic. However, going back into the battle, Yuno acknowledges that, no, I can't beat this dude with just star magic alone, and tells Belle, yo, go inside of me and power up. We're gonna take him out. Which is crazy to think about, because essentially we're about to get a combo of the wind and the stars. A starry wind, or windy star is probably what I would call it. Yeah, windy star, that kind of makes sense. And I ain't gonna lie, it gave me a little bit of a chuckle. I'll just keep it real. When Yuno thanks Finral Longris, and he's like, okay, go get healed up. Y'all good now. Thank you for what y'all done, y'all contribution. It felt like they were just two placeholders, so to speak, until Yuno got his next big triumphant power up. I ain't gonna lie, I don't want to completely take a massive dump on them, because they did contribute. Longris did do the best that he could, and ultimately Finral, considering, like, yo, he's riding with teleportation magic. You know, he's not the greatest combat skill wise person, and he did what he could. So I don't want to completely dog on them, but it was just the way Yuno said it. I was like, basically thanking them for their services. Now get out of the way, because the real one is about to go down. Bums. No. And it was also a cool thing to see Finral's reaction. He's like, yo, you got a 4-leaf clover grimoire and another grimoire? What the heck is going on here? He's shocked at, like, yo, this is epicness going on right here. You could call it BS, you could call it an ass pull, you could call it whatever you want, but it's powerful as hell. Even Longris is in shock, and he's like, what are you, you creature? To which Yuno replies on a, you know, at the end of the day, that's been something that's core to him ever since he took the first ass whipping all the way back in the beginning of all of this against Zenon. He's like, I'm the vice captain of the Golden Dawn, and if William Vengeance dies, he'll be the captain, baby. Like, yes, I'm hoping that the reason why Tabata hasn't really shown Yami and Vengeance, in particular, not necessarily for Yami, because don't do anything to Yami. Tabata, don't be foolish, but is that he's possibly going to kill Vengeance to remove him from that place and allow Yuno to become captain of the Golden Dawn. I would hate for it to be that Yami also takes a dirt nap, which I don't think he would do it. Like, I don't think Tabata's that, you know, naive to believe that people wouldn't riot if you killed Yami. And I'm not talking about the logical people like me. I'd be broken up about it, but I'd accept it, and that would be insane and crazy of a move for Tabata to do. Some fanboys, they're burning volumes, okay? They sending Black Clover to the Shadow Realm if you kill Yami. But Vengeance, I think you could do away with him, and it would kind of feel a little reminiscent to something like, remember in Shippuden when it first started and Gaara was already Kazekage and Naruto was still working at it? Yeah, that could kind of be the same situation where Yuno could be the new captain of the Golden Dawn after everything is all said and done, and Asa's still working on it because Yami is still there. Or it could even be that Yami steps down following this, saying, yo, I put everyone through too much trouble, to be honest with you. I don't really want want to do this anymore. There's other things that I want to study. There's other things I need to learn about. Yeah, it's vacant, and I'm going to let the squirt take over, which I don't know, just like direction-wise and maturity-wise, I don't even feel, even if it went down like that, if that's the way Yami was removed and the position of the Black Bulls captain is vacant, I still don't think Asta would be like the perfect candidate to take it over. Like, you know, he has his senpais, and at the end of the day, Asta's just really immature, opposed to that, no, he could take the Golden Dawn captain spot easy. I mean, he's smart, he's calculative, he's very, very powerful, he's respected not only amongst the Golden Dawn, but just in general in the kingdom. It would make sense for him to do it, but I don't know about Asta. And again, Tabata, please don't kill Yami. We don't need burned books. And going back, uses Star Magic Cartile Scutum. I'm probably butchering those words. And Zenon says, you have no way to escape my subspace. So even with all of that, Zenon is still kind of confident. Because at the end of the day, you got to think, you better have some confidence, okay? You just sold your freaking soul to get this power. You better have some type of confidence. You can't just bow down and say, I sold my soul, but you could get the W. Like, we ain't doing that right now, okay? We're not. And then he uses Star Magic Conjunction. And one thing about this chapter was unclear to me. I feel like I got it, but not really, because then it said that he was teleporting between stars, and I was kind of confused. Was it Zenon saying that was teleporting between stars, or was saying that Zenon was teleporting between the stars so that he doesn't get hit? That was something that was confusing to me. For me, I thought that it was is using those stars as some sort of medium to teleport back and forth between the stars, but again, I wasn't 100% on that. Either way, it makes more sense for me that will be teleporting back and forth as if it's some magnet of a sort. And it really feels somewhat Endgame at the very least for Yuno's character arc when he says that these pages were engraved specifically to take you down. So essentially he's saying like everything about his magic was built for this very moment. Like, what more could you use after that? What more could you go off for Yuno's character development aside from deconstructing his character moving forward of making him question himself or something like that? This is kind of like the creme de la creme for his character. Honestly, this could be the end when it comes to Yuno's character, because what more could you do when his whole magic is based on this battle, this moment? And here's where it starts to dive into more, again, the battle of ideals that we have been seeing between Yuno and Zenon, because then again he hits him with Cartile Hasta and he says, I'll prove the choices I've made weren't wrong. And Zenon says, I want to crush you. And when he says, I'll prove that the choices I made weren't wrong, and he's referring to, like, from everything that he did after the Golden Dawn was slaughtered, the training, making sure that he was a part of this raid of the Spade Nation and stuff like that. It kind of goes also into the whole ideal of what Zenon and what the choices that they made in terms of Zenon back then. He was the reason why ultimately Alan was killed. He made the choice to blast straight through and not think twice about it. On the other hand, just recently with the whole Longris situation, instead of killing and blasting straight through Longris, he backed off of it, and ultimately Longris was able to live. So there's an ideal clash right there of essentially the road not taken and the road taken that led Zenon to where he's at right now. So essentially there's not only a battle of ideals, but also Zenon is having an internal conflict of wanting so badly to prove to himself even that, what I did was the right path. This was the right way. And when he takes that L, boy, is his whole mind going to be shattered. Following that, we just get pages of it looking like an all-out battle. There's all sorts of stuff going on. Bone magic everywhere. Star magic everywhere. It's just absolute freaking chaos going on that I would love to see animated someday. I'm just saying, Studio Pierrot, what's going on? And the chapter ends off with both of them clashing, saying, I'm the one who's going to win. And you got a clash of stars and bones and devil magic and all sorts of stuff. And honestly, very short chapter yet again. The biggest things, the biggest takeaways is one, I guess it's a very big takeaway, is Yuno's magic, his second grimoire, is confirmed, and his true magic is confirmed to be star magic, and offspring of his father being the sun and his mother being the moon. And again, it does feel a little bit like, holy cow, somewhat convenient why it only is coming out right now after 300 plus chapters. But then at the same time, it also makes sense of like, hey, if Patri was reincarnated in William Vengeance, then, and they both had, two different type of magics, the same can be said for if he had the spirit of that baby in him this entire time. It's just like, holy cow, to think about it. Again, going back to the very beginning, none of that was Yuno. That was all magic from somebody else, and Yuno was wielding it. Yuno was using his experience to get through things, but that was baby Lit, Lit Sun's magic. And to say that Yuno is broken or overpowered, I'll still say no, because he literally in the chapter tells Bell, like, I can't just take him out with my star magic alone. So he's not strong enough with his true magic to do it alone. He's telling Bell, yo, I still need a combination of this other magic in order to possibly take him out. So I don't say that Yuno is overpowered, but it does feel a little bit convenient. I'll keep it real that, he got this magic now. He got this star magic. So while it's not that he's broken by any means, it is a little convenient, but it was set up and it was foreshadowed from the very beginning, so you can't call it an ass pull. But I'm very curious what you guys think. How do you feel like all of this is going to play out moving forward? Now that we know Yuno has the star magic, I feel like there still needs to be 1 or 2 more ingredients before we can get the full finale. I don't feel like Bell's gonna show up, Yuno's gonna say, oh yes, I got it, and call it a day. Probably maybe Austin and them are going to show up at the very end, and it's going to be a distraction, and then something's going to lead to ultimately Yuno having to do or having to make that choice yet again of blasting through somebody, and ultimately he's not going to do it again. He's going to show him yet again, like, no, that's not the right path. Sacrificing somebody you care about for the victory is not the best route, and he's going to prove it to him. And your overall thoughts and expectations, I guess the biggest thing, do you feel like Yuno's star magic is a big BS pool, or you feel like, nah, it's been foreshadowed? Does it feel too overpowered for Yuno at this point, considering he's had power up after power up? Like, holy cow, we're in that arc right now. That's why I feel like, to a certain degree, and I've said this on multiple occasions, but I feel like this is the last, what do you call it, arc, stages, saga, whatever you want to say, for Black Clover, because this is usually the time when a manga continues to have, like, power up after power up for the characters, that it's in the home stretch. So that's my opinion on that. And your overall thoughts and expectations for the Black Clover manga with chapter 310 and beyond. Star magic, baby. Let's go. That's all I have for this one, though. Thanks for watching. I hope you enjoyed. If you liked anything I had to say or enjoyed the video, drop me a like. I'd greatly appreciate it. And if you want more from me, make sure to subscribe. Follow me on Twitter, Instagram. Hit that bell to get all notifications. And if you want to follow any of my other social media, links are in the description below. I'm ForneverWorld, and as always, people, have an awesome day. And remember the golden rule: anime and manga for life, boy. Have an awesome day. Peace in. And yeah, win these stars, baby. Win these stars. Have an awesome one.
To find